Is your yard looking beautiful and pristine and garden tour worthy? I hope so. But if it's not, then this might be the video that you need to watch because my yard and gardens are looking a little worse for the wear. We had a storm to come through my area yesterday that brought lots of rain, which we needed, and I'm grateful for that. But it also brought some pretty high winds that sort of knocked some things over. My yard isn't looking the best, but I'm not ready to pull everything out. We still have about a month and a half left of growing season, and I want to try to limp this along until the frost takes it because I don't want to look out my kitchen window and not have pretty flowers to look at. Stay tuned, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks of how I'm going to limp my yard along for the rest of the growing season. This is the number one case in point of which I'm referring. This is my kitchen window. So this area, we probably see this more than anything at our house because we're always in that kitchen. We can look out these windows, and I really like to have something pretty as the focal point. And this begonia has really been beautiful all season long. It's just grown, flowered, and bloomed, and it's just really been a pretty something to look at. And the deer haven't eaten it. Well, yesterday when the storm came through and all the rain that we had, I think it just kind of beat it down a little bit. I could just cut those branches off, but I don't want to do that because then that'll leave the pot half empty. So what I have intentions to do is just tie it up. I'm going to tie it up and just kind of prop it up, hold it up. And begonias are pretty tough. I think that it'll take it pretty well. Let me show you what I'm going to use. I just have some garden twine that I'm going to cut some length off of this roll and just kind of wrap it up and see if it'll hold and keep until the end of the season. Getting a pretty long, I'm going to double it over. And let's see if I can do this without causing any more damage. Ooh, this is heavy. I might need to get somebody to come help me. I'm afraid that I'm going to break it. Well, I didn't come back with help, but I did come back with a stake. So I'm going to try to put this stake sort of in the middle of the container to tie the rope off to, and then try to prop the begonia up. We'll see if this will do the trick without hurting it further. Uh-oh. Turn, Patty. Okay, I'm just going to, I have the stake in the middle. Let me bring you over here closer. Okay, here's the stake. I have it right here in the middle of the container. And here's the twine. I'm just going to tie it to the stake. And then maybe I can carefully pull the begonia up and secure it without injuring it any further. Oh gosh, this thing is heavy. No wonder they fell over in the big wind and rain. They were quite top heavy. Okay, I think maybe that did it. Let's see. Okay, I think that did it. I need to make a few little adjustments here. Maybe I'll get another piece of twine and tie that part. Well, that looks better than all flopped over. Well, I think this one's a success. Now let's move on to the next area that needs some attention. It seems like just a short time ago I was bragging and raving about how pretty my little lime hydrangeas were. And they were. But look at them now. I mean, I've never had a year when every one of the blooms have just burned to a crisp like this. I mean, come on. That's discouraging and disheartening. I think what I'm going to do, so this won't be a total loss, is I'm going to snip some of these blooms that are just looking absolutely terrible. I think I could spray paint those little bloom heads and then use them maybe in some Christmas decorations. We'll see. If I were to spray paint some of these bloom heads, like red or, maybe with a little bit of gold, and stick them in some pots outside, stick them in some containers outside from a distance, I think that they would look okay. Maybe not like right close up, but from a distance, I think they'd do all right. Or I could just use them for Halloween, like haunted house arrangements. I spray painted this one red. It doesn't look too bad. And if you have like several of them, like just stuffed down in a container for my winter pots, for my Christmas pots, then this whole situation won't be a total loss. Well, they were pretty while they bloomed, and they look gorgeous until August. Sometime in August is when I'm going to have to remember that. August, go ahead and prune your blooms off, Patty, because I don't think they'll make it looking decent anyway. So anyway, that's another tip. Prune the things that look really bad and spray paint them. In less extreme locations across the country, like, I don't know, places where it's not so humid, this is kind of what the hydrangeas will age to, with a little bit of pink on them. See how pretty that is? And look at this one. This has a brand new bloom. I don't know how in the world that happened. But anyway. But on the same plant, we also have some that look like this. But I'm telling you, these are looking better than the ones off of my little limes over there in the other spot. This is my new zinnia bed that I planted this year. It's the first time that I've had anything growing in this little spot behind my picket fence. And it was really pretty to see the zinnias blooming here all season long. But I think that their time has come to an end. The rain and winds that we had yesterday have really just kind of knocked them all over. They look a little worse for the wear, and it's just the end of their season. So I'm going to pick out the blooms, make a pretty little arrangement for myself, and also get the seeds so I can plant them again next year. So it's not a loss, it's a win. I'm calling it a win. Isn't that a pretty color? Isn't that a pretty bouquet? End of season bouquet. Well, I'm mighty glad that I was able to spend a little time out in my yard today, kind of salvaging some things that I'm just not quite ready to let go of yet, like my begonia in the back, the focal point for my kitchen. I was able to tie it up and it'll continue to be pretty for me for the rest of the growing season. My hydrangeas, even though they're not pretty, the blooms are not pretty, I was able to salvage the brown blooms that I can spray paint and use for some Christmas decorations. And my zinnias, I was able to harvest a bouquet for me, for my house. And also, I was able to cut off so many dried blooms that I'm going to be able to use the seeds for next year. Today was a win. I was thinking, oh, it looks so bad. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this stuff or not. Well, there's a time for everything in the garden. And so you don't need to be so down on yourself as a gardener or on your garden, because there's just a time for things to be pretty and a time for things to go out of bloom and go out of season. And you just have to roll with it, and you just have to get on board with it if you're going to be content as a gardener. So that's what I decided to do. I'm going to roll with it. I hope y'all do too.